Hello, my name is Robert Marquez, and today I'm going to go over creating a new website in addition to the default website you get after installing the web components on a Windows 2012 server. I'm going to begin by looking at the Internet Information Services Manager. Some people just call this IIS. We see a folder called Sites, and there's already a default one that can be used by other groups, but other groups may want a site that has something more along the lines of their own name. So today I'm going to create one that's going to be called BobTech 2015. So the first thing we need to do is find a location to store our web content in the file system. I'm looking now at a folder structure under the C drive. init pub is where a number of the IIS folders go, but there's one particular one called web root. This is where the content is for the default website. But we're going to make our own. So under init pub, I'm going to create a new folder called Sites. And in this folder, I'm going to create another one that is for my website's content, and it will therefore be called BobTech 2015. I'll need to put some content in here. So what I have are a number of web applications and sites that I already pre-created. In the root of my site, I will put an ASP.NET website. And within this root, or the site of BobTech, which basically has at this point now an ASP.NET structure, I'm going to add a few other applications. So I have an MVC test, WCF, and Web API applications that I'm going to place there. So now that I have a location for the web content, the next thing I'm going to do is create an IP address so that when we define the website in IIS, we can select that IP address. So I'm going to go over to my network connections area. Select under Ethernet properties, I'm going to pick the IPv4 properties, advanced, and under IP address, I'll add a new address here. Once that's been done, we can go over to the IIS and define the site. Alright, before I create a new website under the Sites folder, I want to point out the application pools. There's a branch here you'll see called Application Pools, and the names of them are to the right. Basically, every website and every web application has an associated application pool. What this means is your website or application will run in a space under this name. There's a default you can use. And let's take a look at one of these application pools. These pools will define for your application or website what version of .NET they'll be running with, as well as if it has 32-bit components, you'll have to turn that on here. And there's quite a few other things that you'll want to check out, but be aware that there is going to be an application pool associated with the website you create. So I'm going to go ahead now and create a new site. This site name will be BobTech 2015. And you'll see it already it's going to create a new application pool under that name. We also have a path, which is where I placed the file contents earlier. The IP address we created earlier as well. And the host name is going to be bobtech2015.com. Click OK. Now we see the entry here in IIS and somewhat of a structure. Here are the three application folders. We put it in there earlier. So we have our MVC app, a WCF web service, and a web API app we can test. we're not done yet. What we need to do now is create some DNS entries. So under DNS Manager, right-click the forward-looking zone, New Zone. I'm going to go with the defaults here. Primary zone, all servers. Zone name is bobtech 2015.com. Next, next, finish. Now that I have an entry, I'll open up my forward-looking zones and select bobtech 2015, new host. Leave the top blank. In my case, I'm going to leave it blank, and enter in the IP address that was added earlier just for this site, and add host. So let's give this a try. I'll bring up a web browser and see if I can get to the bobtech intranet website we just created. Here's the ASP application that was placed at the root of the bobtech folder structure, and it appears to be working fine. Now we're not done yet. Let's get back to the IIS. We have a few folders here that are for applications. Let's see if we can actually run those now. So I'm getting an error, and it basically says a virtual directory not being configured in IIS. Well, our work isn't quite done yet. We need to do something else. Under IIS, these folders are applications, so we need to right-click and select Convert to Application. So now, if we try this again, it works. The Web API application is running. Alright, now there's also a web service I have out there. Let me try that. Let's see if it acknowledges it as a web service. So now I'm having an error show here, and I'm looking, it says line 16, that there's a problem in the webconfig file. Okay, but wait a minute, there's something funny here, unusual. The path to this webconfig file is at the root. It's not in the web service folder. So what's happening in this case is there's two webconfig files, or there's more than one. Let's take a look here under sites. So at the root we have a webconfig, and at that WCF we also have a webconfig, and what's going on, it's picking up the webconfig that's at the root. So we have to stop that, and that's fairly easy to do. So I'm going to go ahead and run a command prompt with admin, because I need admin rights to modify these files. Notepad, and with Notepad I will open that webconfig that's at the root. So there's a very simple solution for this particular problem. I'm going to encapsulate the contents of this webconfig with this location block, which basically says inherit child applications is false. Don't let the folders down below see what's in this webconfig file. So I've saved this, and let's see if we still have that problem on the web service. I'll try to run it again. Alright, problem fixed. Now, this is all too easy to check it running on the server that the files are on. Does this actually work on the clients? So let's go to a client device connected to this server. Can the clients get to this website? Alright, so from the client Windows 10 device, let's see if I can bring up that web API application from here. Alright, we're going to go right for Bob Tech. Let's see if this works. Yeah, so I'm in a client device, Windows 10. We were earlier in the Windows 2012 server. Everything worked fine there. And here on the client device connected. So your clients would be able to use this website. The client's on your intranet. Go ahead and run that one for the web service as well. Good. So that will do it. Thank you for watching.